Sorry, this hand isn't good.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Great.
Good, Reg, you're on the phone, right?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, thanks, Reg. That was good.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Janice.
Hello.
Janice.
Yep.
Yep. Good deal. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, good evening, everyone. We're going to start the meeting. All right, we're ready to start the meeting. If we could. All right.
Good to go. Date time. Let's go.
All right, just waiting to get people's attention here, and I think we've got it. So, my name is Jim Flanagan. I'm Vice Chair of the Needham Housing Authority. I will be chairing the meeting today. Reg Foster, Chair, is joining us virtually. And let me go ahead and do the official kickoff here.
Don't go.
This meeting's being conducted in part virtually as part of the open meeting law passed by Governor Healy, March 20, 2005, that 25 that extends the COVID provisions to allow for a virtual meeting and participation. Let me start by doing a roll call, if you will, of all of the commissioners. Jim Flanagan's here.
Reg Foster's here.
Janice Bennett's here.
Amanda Berman's here.
Great. So we've got quorum. Jeff Engler cannot join us this evening.
I had no idea.
All right. We're going to start. We've got a very special guest. We're pleased to have Representative Josh Tarski here. Welcome, Josh. Thank you very much.
Good to be here.
It's a privilege to have you here. And so I appreciate if you would introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what drew you to the position and maybe a little bit about your interest in housing.
Sure. So thanks for having me, everybody. I think I've met several of you, my travels, some at office hours, some just as I make my way in the community and introduce myself since assuming this position on January 1st. So relatively new to the job. I'm a military veteran with over 20 years of service, some of it active duty. I'm still in the National Guard. I'm an attorney for them. I'm in the JAG office at Joint Force Headquarters, which is in Hanscom. Still drill regularly. After leaving active duty, I went in education, became a teacher in Lawrence at the high school level. Eventually became a principal of the middle high school in Holbrook. And then after the former rep retired, Denise Garlick, I thought it was a good opportunity to make a difference at the state level. Like I said, been here 9 months. I've been working with Reg Foster and Jim Flanagan, and I met with Cheryl earlier in the year, and trying to advance some of the priorities of the NHA, and of course, with the housing shortage, trying to make a difference to provide housing across not just Needham and the towns I represent, but also across the Commonwealth. So really happy to be here. I will try to answer any and all questions. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to get you to the right spot. So thanks for having me.
Thanks. Let me go ahead and kick things off and ask the commissioner and then others to join. What's your interest in housing and what has surprised you in your first approximately year on the job?
So I think, one of the biggest, priorities in the state, and definitely one of the governor's priorities, is to increase housing. There is a shortage. It's been estimated around 220,000 units across the state. It's something that Needham has grappled with on how to increase the amount of housing they have. Surprises with this, I guess, with regards to the Needham Housing Authority, it is a complex system. to get funding to advance into this system. It is a competitive process that requires a lot of technical expertise. I think you all are in really wonderful hands. The chair, Mr. Foster, has amongst some of the most. He has a ton of technical knowledge on the process, how to get funding. And I think he serves the town very well. And, I've worked with Jim on various things too. And I think that what they're trying to do by improving the properties they have, and also advance some of the other projects, well worth state rep support, and of course, Becca Roush is behind a lot of this as well. We're just trying to move Needham forward with improving the facilities here, and across all the NHA's properties, and ultimately increase housing across the Commonwealth and India.
Thanks, Josh. Reg, you want to go next? We'll go order of seniority, if that's okay.
Sure. Why don't I go after all the other commissioners have had a chance, and before you turn it over to the attendees in the room and virtually here.
Fantastic. Thanks. Janice.
Hi, thank you for coming, Mr. Toski. I voted for you. My question is, how can you help us residents? We want to get this pride kicked off with a great send-off and possibly as much as support that we can possibly get from the state. We're going to be kicking off two, basically in tandem, federal and state programs. And it's going to be a tough challenge for the residents. And since you're, an elected guy, I want to know, and the residents, I speak for them, how will you help us with the situation of relocation?
Thanks, Janice. Little technical on the relocation, I know, but just in general. Yeah.
Right. So, with regards to all the support that I can help with the state, in a lot of ways, I'm a liaison, right? So when the NHA needs state funding, I can help support that. I met with some members, including Betsy and some of the legal team, and Secretary Augustus, to a show of support and also problem shoot to see if there's things we can do to make some of the things we're trying to get funding wise, make Needham more competitive. So in some ways I provide a certain level of access and support, which helps us reach our funding goals and, help with, whether it's relocation or, improving the current, housing that's, at areas like Linden Chambers, Seabed's Way. I think that's where I'm of most used to, the NHA.
Thanks,
Did that
Reg.
answer your question? I hope it did.
Well, not really, but I think it's more of a question for the Cambridge housing. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and
I think there's a plan in place for the relocation.
oh, yeah,
That was the way I understood it.
yeah, they'll be handled, Cambridge Housing Authority will be assisting and other specialists with, CBES project. And obviously our partners, here at the Linden property. But yeah, thanks, Janice. And I will.
Well,
just
no,
say-
I just wanted to reiterate a little bit, Jim, because I just don't want to leave it in the hands of the CHA. I want people in Needham to be on the same page and make sure that we have a revolving door
Yeah.
with
Janice,
respect to people that are in the know and the residents that want to know and the
Yeah.
residents that don't want to know, because we have a lot of those as well.
Well, and thanks, and I will get into later in the meeting. There's a key meeting on Tuesday for the CBES project, and with Cheryl leading the way throughout here, right? So it will be Needham led and driven with support of others. And Rep Jarsky has been a key participant in critical meetings in the state, and that's not easy because your schedule is kind of full. So thank you.
Janice, also, when I talk to like Reg Foster, Jim, Cheryl, it feels like they do have the residents, best intentions and making sure that they're comfortable, whether it's relocation or other things. It always feels like there's a plan in place, it's well thought out. And they do have your concerns, I think, front and center. At least that's what I'm gathering from conversations with them. I've never been led to believe otherwise. So I think you're in good hands. It's the short answer, at least from my perspective.
Good. So in the interest of time, I want to see Amanda, what are your?
Hi, Representative Tarski. Sorry I'm not there to see you in person tonight, but thank you for taking your time to come to our meeting. And thank you for the work that you do and the support that you have and will continue to give the Housing Authority. I am curious actually about your where you stand in support of two bills right now. Yes, in my backyard, and yes, in God's backyard. And if you could just talk about those, your support or not for those two bills that are in front of the legislators.
Is the second one the one where churches would be able to rent land out on their property?
Yes, religious institutions could, by right multifamily development could happen on property owned by religious institutions.
Honestly, I probably just need to think about it more. I've heard some of the vocal people who were both for and against that bill. I'd have to look into it, honestly. I'm not sure how many housing units would be built through that. It might be substantial, and I think there were some other concerns too. The short answer is I'd have to do more research and get you a better answer. The first bill I'm not as familiar with. I'm not, to be totally transparent, I'm not totally familiar with either of those bills. I know of the second one more than the first, but if you fill me on the first, I'd be happy to at least try to comment.
Yeah, without going into the details tonight, I think this is, it's just important to that we advocate for bills like this, because really what it's doing is helping to allow for more by right multifamily development and just, to add to the affordable housing stock in general in Needham. And as the Housing Authority continues to think about adding more units, we need all of the by right opportunity we can get. So I'm happy to offline reach out to you and provide you with more information about these two really important bills that I hope you will come around to supporting in the future. So I'll make a note of that, and thank you again.
No, I'd love to hear that. And I've heard a bunch of ideas from all sorts of folks, and I think one thing is pretty clear. I'm not sure the MBTA Communities Act will give us enough housing to meet our housing needs. So there has to be other things to address it. And I've heard a bunch of different plans, and if you reach out, I'd be thrilled to, at least hear what these can offer. I think we're all looking for any and all ways to increase housing across the state.
Thanks.
Great, will do.
Reg, you're up, I believe.
I guess so. So can you hear me okay, everybody?
Yes.
Great. So a couple of things I just want to say a thing or two and then ask Rep. Tarski to comment on them. One is, it's no secret that he's new and he has, replacing Denise Garlick is, deep shoes to fill, in terms of, not being a loyal supporter of what we're doing, but, Denise, that Rep. Garlick being around for 15 years in the State House, and it's a learning curve thing. But what I wanted to just comment on is, as soon as he declared his candidacy, and I hope it's okay if I tell this tale out of school, Josh, but he reached out and said, I've got all these strengths, but housing is a new one for me. And so we actually had a few meetings, completely initiated by him, just to kind of get up to speed on what's immediately going on. And I just wanted to comment that I really appreciated that. It wasn't that something where I had to chase him down. It was the other way around. And secondly, and this is more in the form of a question. or asking you to expand on your previous answer, which is the thing that's most valuable for us is being able to pick up the phone and call our state rep, or you send an email and somebody gets right back to you, and it isn't necessarily a staff member, it's Representative Tarski. And if you don't mind, would you describe a little bit more about the time earlier this summer when I and our Linden Terrace development partners reached out and said, we're having a hard time getting a meeting with Secretary Augustus, and it's a big deal because there's $4 million of potential money in the bond bill that was passed last August for us, and how that, the role you played and how it unfolded, if you don't mind elaborating on that.
No problem. And, Reg has been a tutor of mine, I think it's fair to say, with some of the intricacies of dealing with housing issues. Super knowledgeable. Honestly, one of the first people I would go to when anything revolved around housing. Just smart, seasoned advocate. So I guess the way that I do communication is kind of the way I did it as a building principal. I tried to always turn it around within a 24-hour time period. Me and my legislative aide Kyle, we have a system. If I get an email today, tomorrow I will read through all of the ones I got today and respond to them. And there's always like one or two issues that require several phone calls to do, whether it's dealing with, I don't know, a couple that come to mind. A woman had an issue with her Facebook account. We have a resource at the State House that can actually get to Facebook and address it and get her access so that her business can thrive again. So I call her, and then I call the lawyer who can help unravel some of these things, and then I set up a link between them. I try within 24 hours to respond to every email and to make some kind of contact when anyone's reached out to me. I think it's been a good model in education. I think it works well in the State House too. And I think it's actually manageable, okay? With Reg and some of the things that he talked about, he needed a letter of support for some of these high-end things that we're trying to accomplish, like millions of dollars. I bonded to someone on the legal team who's a former rep. And I reached out to him and said, basically, can we set up a meeting with the secretary? I'd never done it before, but this was a gentleman who could show me how to do it. And then we coordinated with all the folks involved and got, basically the decision maker at the table. We got the legal team for the NHA at the table. And we could basically discuss ways to make this project go. Reg, one of the things that was revealed during that meeting was how good of a job the NHA does, especially comparatively. With the local support that you put in place, that's something they're definitely looking for. I know you know this. But that's something that you guys were praised on. And then your creativity. So when there's a hiccup, it just feels like, and this is more the secretary's words than mine, you guys are flexible enough to make corrections, which they're looking for when they're looking for, who gets this competitive money. And I think of all the towns I represent, Needham is really, you guys do an excellent job at having all your ducks in a row and knowing what the game looks like and how it should be played. Happy to set up these meetings and to be a part of what it really is a strong team in this town. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I would just add to that, because I think you're being a little modest here. We were really having trouble getting into Secretary Augustus's office. And then we reached out to you for help, and you figured out how to do it. I don't know how you did it, but next thing we knew, we had a meeting scheduled. And then, there's a bunch of issues to bring up. And by the way, this is for the benefit of both the Seabeds project. There's $1 million stuck from last year on the Seabeds project, and $3 million for the Linden project. And so both projects, we needed to get some clarity on what the game plan was. And we got this meeting. I wasn't able to attend, but it was attended by our development partners. And And also, I believe you arranged to have a representative or a staffer from Senator Rosh's office as well, because it really, we have to sort of double team these things. And we got just invaluable information. And then there was also this tutorial that obviously a new state representative doesn't know everything about everything, but that's to be expected. But there was this blitz tutorial thing you did where you were able to be there and participate in the meeting, on a fully kind of partner basis. And from my point of view, that's really worth a lot. So, and look forward to that in the future here. So thank you for what you've done for us so far, even though you're not even 1 year into the job here.
Thanks, Reg.
Your willingness to eat cake, albeit the financial layer cake, but.
Yes.
Reg, anything else?
That's it. Go ahead. Let's save some time for any of the residents or other attendees of the meeting here.
Great,
Or Cheryl does have any questions too, of course. Yeah.
Cheryl, go ahead.
I just want to express my appreciation to you, Representative Toski. You've been giving us a great deal of your time. It means a lot. And we're excited about what's coming. So thank you.
Thanks for what you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the community, the residents?
Yes.
Ross, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Ross Donald, where I always try and take advantage of any time you come out in public, office hours or whatever. Just to mention that, whenever I hear decision makers, the other one is stakeholders, right? I know they're not talking about me, all right? So we have to make an extra effort to make our presence felt. And I will tell you that if you're modeling yourself after Denise Garlick, and that's not a bad example. She lived right down the street here. During the pandemic, she came and visited us every week for a long time. I won't put any time limits, but it was very valuable, encouraging. We had one meeting and she asked me, said, what are you here for? What are your issues? I said, I don't know. I don't have any issues. I'm just here to say hi, So she's okay, we'll have a friendly little meeting, no issues, no problems. And we talked about some things. So she was very available that way.
So we do a Center at the Heights. I do one every month. And that's open to everyone. I do office hours, one every month, sometimes more.
We'll have a bus go down there.
I would be happy to, we can coordinate. If you guys want to see me, I could come out. I'd be happy to come out here, okay?
Well, this is the crowd. These are the people you'll be meeting, and a few others too.
Happy to come out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Ross. Anyone else? Marlene, please.
It's great to meet you. And I've heard a lot of good things about you, but I have not met you, so I'm glad that you made the opportunity to be here today. I have one concern that I think we might be able to enlighten us with. Now, on the, I believe it was the $2 billion affordable housing bill that was passed by Governor Healy. And I don't know the exact name of the bill, but this is basically where all the money is coming from, or at least funneled through to Massachusetts from the federal government for development of affordable housing. Now, each town and city that has public housing was to receive a certain amount of money, based on this share. And I believe that a $2 million figure approximately was mentioned by the chairman here at Needham Housing. So whatever the exact figure is, that amount of money that's supposed to be for capital improvements and repairs of existing properties, not new development, for capital improvement and repairs of existing properties for public housing. And that was the big, I went to the State House on the day that they had the agenda, and it was voted upon, and everyone, the legal team, from various organizations and Mass Tenants Union were, thrilled about it, that finally there was going to be a significant amount of money given for capital improvements and repairs for existing units. Now, the statement that was made by our chairman was, when I had asked the question, where is that money going to be spent? Whether it's on chambers, High Rock Homes, whatever other properties are on the hook. Obviously, Linden Terrace, they want to tear it down, so they're not gonna be spending it. And the answer was, all of that money was going to the New Development Corporation, the Linden Terrace project. So my question is, did Governor Healy change the criteria, making that money available? Where is that money now that was supposed to be for capital improvements and repairs? Is there a law or an item, whatever, that Governor Healy signed that takes that money away from us and just gives it to new development exclusively? If so, I'd like to know what that new law is and if that was passed by the legislature or was it an executive order signed by Governor Healy? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is the Affordable Homes Act. It was a $5 billion bond bill. So in that, you know, with a bond bill, every line item that's in there, and I think, you know, Reg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Denise Garlick did secure a $5 million earmark in there for the town of Needham, which some of what we've been doing here is unlocking those funds for certain projects. I'm not sure if it went towards repair. I don't know. Reg, maybe you jump into this a little bit as
Sure,
to.
let me tee it up so that I either can respond or if you don't have a response, you can look into it and get back to us here. So there's 5.2 billion, I believe is the exact billion number here for housing, for all kinds of things that housing, affordable housing needs. And there was two what's called earmarks. One for Linden Street, and not for Linden Street redevelopment, and not for repair of existing buildings of 3 million. And there was that was from Representative Garlick, and one from that Senator Roush got us for 1 million that could be used for either Linden Street redevelopment or Seabed's Cook redevelopment, either one. But not for repairs for chambers. There was another big bucket of money, and I'm not going to be able to. I'm trying to drive to the meeting now, so I'm not going to be able to come up with a number. But it's something you can get back to the questioner about. It was like several $100 million for increased amounts of money for repairs of all the local housing authorities in Massachusetts, not just the state funded ones. So this would be just Linden Chambers, and not for the federal ones. And that is being actually, when we get to our public hearing today, I think we have an increase on the amount of, they call it formula funding over last year, that it reflects the money, our share of the money that was referred to by, that we can use for, badly needed and long awaited repairs to the existing bricks and mortar. So that's just, let me just frame it that way and then turn it back over to you, Representative Tarski.
I think the short answer would be, let me get your contact information. Let me actually look into where the money went, and let me become more informed. And
I would appreciate it.
I'd be happy to do it.
Thank you, because it's an important issue.
Oh, yes, thanks.
It's like over 90 units, and including couples, so there's more than 90 tenants, and then High Rock Homes also. So it's completely left out.
Thank you.
And that money was supposed to be specifically for existing buildings. Thank you.
Anything, anyone else? Yes, please.
You come to all of these meetings.
Don't believe
Have you ever toured inside the apartments with us?
I think I've been in, Cheryl, correct me if we did a meeting here, and Reg, I think you took me
We
inside a couple.
Chambers in Linden.
So I did tour a couple, yes.
Because I've been here 30 years plus, so I like where I live. It's a little small, it's inside. I do have family that come in. because I.
Ruth?
I also have a cat, so I didn't have a pet. But I'm sure it's not hard to get to everywhere. My mother's house is 3 blocks away. I got 2 brothers here in town, so, and I like living there. It's really, I work part-time on libraries, so it's like, make people to back to my, good place to live. Is it gonna stay public housing or is it gonna federal housing?
Yes.
It's a good question.
Should stay public housing
Federal-
Yes. and it's a repositioning.
Right. It will stay public housing, your rent will be based on, your income. But it will turn into a federal public housing program. It won't be a state public housing program.
Ellen, please. Yeah.
As you probably recall, the selection committee for Peabody.
Yep.
One of the things that was very important, maybe people and neighbors and residents should know more about, is that Needham Housing Authority, namely Cheryl, the executive director, always has the final say on everything. It's written in the contract. It's not like just because we're going federal, we're gonna be in a different ballgame altogether, and the umbilical cord is cut, pardon the phrase, but between us and the housing authority, they will always have the upper hand. Cheryl will always have the oversight over everything.
Yep.
So that's good. That's comforting to know that we got.
Well, I do wanna just,
Other-
the board actually has the oversight over everything, and I
The
manage
support.
the day-to-day operations of the agency, yeah.
Good. Maybe one more, if there is one more. Yeah, oh, sorry. Thank
All
you.
right, so we're going on to,
Is that Sue
I think there was one other
Okay.
person.
Yes, it is.
first, and then I'll come back?
Oh, Sue. Okay, it looks like you're able to talk, Sue. Yeah.
Okay, Representative Tarski, my name is Sue Biazizo. I'm a longtime.
Yep, we lost you.
We did, I cut you right off, Sue. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm sorry, Sue, I was lowering your hand and I ended up cutting. you
Oh,
off.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll forgive you this time. I am curious, what branch of the military did you serve?
I was in the Army.
Well, I'll forgive you for that too. I'm a former Air Force spouse of a veteran. And
Nice.
I'm wondering if you've had any interaction with the men and women up at the veterans. Like Tom Keating, he's the base he's the chaplain up there. We do have a lot of veterans in Needham, and I know their pride is of the utmost importance to them. But I get concerned about when they have, maybe bills that they can't pay. A lot of them are, retired, of course. And have you been up to talk with any of these people at the VFW?
Regularly.
Okay.
So, yeah, I talk with Tom a bunch. I go to meetings as often as I can. I spoke at Memorial Day. I wasn't in their float for July 4th, but that was a rowdy crew and I said hello to them. It's a good group and I think the HERO Act, some of the things that were passed there were really, in the last legislative session will help some of them.
I hope so.
Yeah, for those who are eligible, they can get, instead of 2,000 a year, they can get 2,500. There's some other benefits in there too that were good to vets. And I don't know if you know the VSO, Dan O'Neill, he's relatively new, but he's doing an excellent job at just providing like veteran benefits throughout that community. Super active and a guy worth getting to know, especially if you're interested in veterans affairs type stuff.
Yep, I am, and I'm gonna be making a visit up to the VFW to talk to some of the guys like I have before, so. Great bunch of people.
Yep.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
service.
your service. I know it.
Continued service.
It's gotta be, we gotta start saying something different. That phrase is being so overused. I don't know, it just isn't worth it anymore, but I thank you especially. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else online, Cheryl, before you come back?
Yeah, there is.
Hand raised?
No one else had their hand.
Hand raised, okay. So, anybody else here?
I just want one more little thing, so she's here, I'm gonna say it.
Okay,
Laurie has been doing a fantastic job coordinating more activities. And getting people to come in and take part. I've noticed myself coming in, there's been an increase in attendance from the different tenants even that are helping out. And she has been doing awesome. I've never seen so many people. It's been a long time since we've had this remote attendance, so I just want to.
thanks, and we will,
Thank, because she's here and she's very humble.
that's great, thanks, we will have more resident and community input more generally. So thank you for that, all right. Anything else for the representative? Go ahead.
Internal concerns. My concerns are internal concerns, and I don't know if I am to be bringing them up in this open forum or not, or discuss them privately.
What, we've got a resident community input, time that we'll have a little bit later, but anything specific for the representative?
Community check that, all right,
Okay.
we'll wait.
All right. All right, then. Okay, with that, thank you, Representative Tarski. We appreciate your leadership, the extra time of being here, and just continued collaboration. Thank you, Kyle, for your work too and support.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. And I know
I'll
you-
try to make it a regular thing.
Yeah, we'll get together at the secretary here of the LTO, so,
great.
in touch with you, have your number.
Yeah, and then we'll make sure we get her questions, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay, but you probably have a few more meetings to go to this evening, so.
I got a couple things, but thanks for having me. I appreciate
Thanks,
this.
thanks, Representative. All right. Moving on with the agenda, again, we're gonna have resident and community input a little bit later, but we've got a couple other items here we want to cover first. I think next up is Chris on from Cambridge Housing Authority, right?
Yes, can you all hear me?
We can, yes.
Great.
Hello, welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm here to talk a little bit about the new task order from the Cambridge Housing Authority. Cheryl, should I just jump right in? And Jim, should I just jump right in?
Please, yep.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for having me today. My name is Chris Moyer. I am a project manager at the Cambridge Housing Authority, assisting with your Seabeds Way modernization project. Today, I'm here in lieu of Matthew Zajac, who wasn't able to make it. So like I said, I'm here to sort of provide a high-level overview of our task order, which sort of covers the scope of our consulting engagement for Seabeds Way. We shared with you a proposal for this a few weeks ago. And the reason why this task order refreshing is sort of coming up now is that the existing one that we've been working under, task order 5, was drafted in 2024. And the scope of that task order was really aligned to a previous repositioning strategy that we were pursuing at the time called Section 22. And it also covered scope for not only Seabeds Way, but also Captain Robert Cook Drive and High Rock Estates. And since then, NHA has pivoted back to a RAD Section 18 repositioning strategy, basically sort of jargon for a specific way to convert Seabeds Way to the Section 8 program. And so this new task order 6 aligns with this scope. So I'll just sort of give a high level overview, and then we can jump into any questions you may have. So broadly speaking, the proposed scope is for services from this past July through the closeout of the project. which is currently anticipated for early 2021. And our scope is sort of broken into three large buckets. The first is the HUD repositioning, which will convert seabeds from federal public housing to Section 8. And this is led by our planning staff. This involves a lot of back and forth with HUD, a lot of due diligence materials. The second bucket is for the associated modernization project, which involves our planning, construction, and relocation staff. And then there's a third bucket, smaller, which is for general project management, which is led by our planning staff. And this is mostly for our weekly check-in meetings with NHA. And the bulk of the work falls into that second bucket for the modernization project. And it covers everything from, assisting the architect on the design process, starting from where we are now in construction documents, relocation, bidding, the financial closing, actual construction itself, overseen by our construction staff, through to construction completion, and then sort of due diligence items at the completion of construction and oversight of converting the construction loan to the permanent loan. So it's sort of a nuts to bolts scope of work for what you'll be needing for Seabeds Way. So if you have any questions, please feel free
Chris,
to ask.
commissioners have any questions? Amanda, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep, can you hear
Hi.
me? Hi, Chris. Thank you for that. And I apologize if I am not remembering this correctly. Did we amend task order 5?
No, task order 5 was as is. And so instead of sort of creating an amendment to it, we're just putting that aside. We're going to be nullifying task order 5, and then task order 6 will completely replace 5.
Okay, got it. So that was my biggest question is, trying to understand, because I'm newer to the process here, trying to understand what has been done thus far in task 5, and then how, it's coming over, what is coming over from that or not into task 6. So I know that there were, fees put forth for task 5, but I assume that we did not, because not all of task 5 was completed, that there was a chunk of that fee that was not spent. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, got it. Just a couple things. I noticed under the relocation plan, there was mention of assisting NHA residents with claim forms and procedures for reimbursement of moving related expenses. And that was something that raised a little bit of a red flag because, knowing how much anything related to moving costs, I'm concerned that residents have to pony up their own money for a move that is not something that, they should necessarily be financially responsible for. So is there a way for the housing authority to front load that money? I'm not sure how it would work, but it concerns me to have residents paying for any moving expenses up front and then having to wait to be reimbursed. I'd rather the housing authority or, Cambridge Housing Authority, somebody cover those costs on behalf of the resident. So there's not, the resident putting money out related to moving. So that's one thing that I wanted to call attention to. Secondly, for the fee associated with task order 6, is that the cap? Is that the ceiling, or is there potential for there to be, additional dollars associated with the work that falls under task 6 that goes beyond that fee that's stated there.
Sure. So maybe I'll tackle that one first.
Yeah.
So the fee is a proposed fee, and it's the cap right now. And if there's any changes that we foresee in the future, that's something that we'll make sure to bring to you in the future. And the question about relocation, I think I'm gonna have to get back to you with more information about relocation itself. I do, that's definitely a valid concern. There is money in the budget for relocation and things like helping residents pay for, or let me just first of all say that NHA is required to cover all relocation costs. So in terms of how that exactly works for reimbursement or not, I'll have to get back to you, and I'll make sure that your question is addressed. And I know that maybe more questions about relocation may come up. There's going to be a meeting on Tuesday that's sort of more focused on design. This will be a resident meeting at Seabeds Way. As part of that, we have a few slides about relocation. It's not going to be able to answer all of everyone's questions, but later this fall, we will be having a more formal meeting that's focused specifically on relocation, where these questions about reimbursement will be answered more fully.
Great, thank you. So I guess I'm also just throwing that point out to Cheryl and Reg and those who are more intimately involved. I think that's something to just flag earlier rather than later, because I know once this stuff gets moving, it goes super fast. And we just want to make sure we have a plan in place before it happens. I'm pretty sure that's all the questions I have. Yep, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
I have,
Let me, Janice, go ahead. Oh, Janice, if I could just jump in quickly, about the Tuesday meeting, and we'll reference it later, but it's such an important meeting. What's the time of that, Chris, on Tuesday?
It is at 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
Yes.
At
the
Seabeds
Seabeds Way Community Room, yes.
on Tuesday. Good. We will reference that again, but we can't reference it enough, so thank you for that.
Yep.
Go ahead, Janice.
okay, yeah, and thank you, Amanda, because that was one of my concerns that jumped out at me too, as far as the relocation for the residents and who was going to foot that bill. It was always and always projected onto the residents that it was going to be picked up, and but not by the residents for sure. And when I saw that, I was a little taken aback, because, like I just said, it was always projected that it was going to be covered. And all of a sudden, I see them trying to sneak that in. And I'm talking about Cambridge Housing. And I'm also talking about Cambridge Housing with regards to their billing. I can't put up my finger on it yet, but I believe there's a little double billing going on there. And I want you to really look at that as well.
Yeah,
Because-
let's take that offline so we can, if there's specific items, I'm sure we can, investigate that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just raising that flag right now. So,
Okay,
because I'm going to be looking at that. And so I want my other colleague commissioners to do that as well,
Yeah.
well as Cambridge Housing Authority as well. So, yeah.
thanks, Janice. Reg, welcome.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late, everybody.
Your chair.
It's, my mother-in-law's 96th birthday
Wow.
today. 96, and she still lives independently in her own house. And I guess there's something more important than the Needham Housing Authority board meeting in my personal life here. So I hope I'm not gonna have her genes, but I hope my wife has her genes. So anyway, thank you for the, Jim. I'm not gonna run the meeting or take the meeting over because Jim's doing such a great job. So I'm just another commissioner tonight here. To the question on the table is any questions about task order 6, but we
Correct.
also
Yeah.
went beyond that. And I'm just gonna, comment on the questions that were just asked.
Please.
And then I'm gonna ask, before we get to voting or anything on task orders,
Yep.
and I'm gonna provide my comments on task order 6. But I think we should ask, Chris to give a little status update to the people here.
Yep.
Not a big one, but
Yep.
a little one. Because I want to say again, as everybody else did, there's a whole meeting for as long as anybody wants, next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Where any and all questions are fair game, including the ones that have come up tonight, and we'll have the architects there, we'll have the experts there. And, you know, please ask them again to the extent we haven't gotten them here tonight. There's 2 comments on the relocation expenses. You know, no residents are gonna have any out-of-pocket relocation expenses, you know, for the temporary period that it's just a gut renovation. So, I mean, you know, it's still probably 4 months of elapsed time. Again, go to next week's meeting for more details, more questions. Not like what we'll have to do here at Linden, which it's gonna take 16 months to, you know, to do that first phase. So it's still a big pain, obviously, if you are at seabed, but it's, you know, it's not as big as what we have to do down here. Secondly, to my knowledge, there's no, except for very exceptional circumstances, but there's no fronting of money that any residents have to do. And please ask that again when we have a meeting next, because that.
Are you going to be planning to put that in writing?
I'm planning to be at the meeting, and yes, there'll be minutes and video taken of the meeting. So, you know, you'll have lots of evidence if you want to have that.
When is this taking place and where?
Tuesday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Seabed Way Community Room, where we normally meet every other week.
This is in reference to this development project at Linden Chambers.
Not Linden Chambers,
Excuse me, Linden Terrace.
not Linden Terrace, just Seabed.
So the meeting is going to be concerning the seabed's modernization. And
Yes.
what else?
That's it, 100% that. Okay, now, the second thing was just a comment about double billing. I can say without fear of contradiction, looking over at Cheryl, that Cheryl and I look at every single line item that comes in from the Cambridge Housing Authority on their invoices. You know, and I can also assure you that if that wasn't good enough, the town has a new committee called the Town Finance Community Housing Oversight Committee, TCHOC, you know. And when we submit those Cambridge Housing Authority invoices from time to time for reimbursement from CPA funds, they also look at every single line item and have no qualms about raising, hey, I don't like this one line item in the, you know, invoice of 100 line items, and often reject it, and we have to come back next month for reimbursement. So there's plenty of oversight going. So I'm not saying there isn't some double billing there, but it's not because of lack of oversight. You know, it's just, you can't be 100% perfect. You can only be 99.9% perfect here. So, great.
Well, Reg, I was asking for more oversight. I
Yeah,
wasn't accusing anybody. I was just asking
No,
for more diligence.
but God help me, we got a lot of oversight.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you can bring it on is all I can say. Because we're very fortunate the town has put up as much money as they have. They're up to about $10 million across all of Needham Housing Authority projects so far, which is, you know, like totally unprecedented in the Commonwealth. You know, like no other small town has ever been that supportive of affordable housing as much as Needham has been. So very grateful for that, as well as for Representative Tarski and Becker Rush and Denise Garlic here. Okay, so, I went through the, proposal and task order draft that we have in here. And I've noted, another number of items, but, I think it's very well written, very clear. The items I've noted are basically technical drafting items. I'll just give you one example, like, Amanda brought up that, you know, the relationship between task order 5 and task order 6, just as a small example. And Chris gave the right answer, which is task order 5, the scope has been overtaken by events because we did do this pivot to seabeds only. And what Chris didn't say is all of the deliverables and expectations to date under task order 5 have been accomplished. The biggest one of which is we actually have an active project, seabed modernization project, that's 10 months away, knock on wood. It's fully financed, $21 million and 10 months away from going to construction. So in housing authority, public housing authority terms, that's like tomorrow. Something that's taken years and years for us to get there. So, you know, there's lots of interim deliverables and things they did for us, but in terms of delivering value for their, you know, what they, you know, have been charging for, you know, it's a little bit of a miracle still, from my point of view, that we somehow found $21 million to do this. Badly needed. I would propose, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, that these they're like technical things that that I would think we should pass along to, you know, Cheryl and our board subcommittee, which consists of you and myself, to, you know, it isn't a matter of no negotiating. It's a sort of correcting and getting agreement on the final draft. And it's a bunch of items like that, you know, having to do with invoicing, you know, requirements and that sort of thing. I would also note, just for the record, that Chris didn't point this out because he wouldn't know, but the billing rates, if you look at the table of billing rates in the Cambridge Housing Authority, although by ordinary person standards look like, wow, that's a lot of money, $200 an hour for anybody, but having, you know, but compared to all the other consulting firms, it's like a really good value, especially with the overall result that we're getting delivered here. So I'm very comfortable recommending, and I probably, you know, if asked, I'll make the motion that we approve this, subject to any comments from other commissioners and these technical corrections, and authorize Cheryl to take it over the finish line and review the final drafts with the vice chair and the chair, and have a meeting of more than 2 board members to do that, and get the signs sort of as soon as we can, because it's only 10 months down the road, and when we go to construction, and then this covers the whole period of the construction period, and then getting, you know, all the relocation services that we need, and getting that done, which will take a bit of time. And is that okay?
Could you make that motion?
I will make that motion, but I will make a motion that we approve the draft before us, subject to the comments that were voiced by the commissioners today, and subject to these technical drafting things that need to be fixed that I'm not going to take everybody's time on here today. Do I have
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janice.
You sure you got that one right though, Rachel? You don't want to reiterate anything?
Okay, and so any more discussion?
Could you tell me what you're voting on?
Task order 6. Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, the chair votes, go ahead. Chair. I don't know what the sequence is now.
And you say, we'll call the roll because we have a.
We'll call the roll, since,
virtual
yes,
meeting,
we
And.
have a virtual
and-
meeting.
And then
Seniority wise, I mean,
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Thank you.
And, also a little bit of a status report, that's what I suggest, yeah. Because some of the people here haven't been going regularly to the CBEDS meetings, where we, present, and might not be able to get to Tuesday's meeting.
All right, so do you want Chris to go into the status report?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, Chris, do you want to just give a brief status report?
This is on the sort of overall where CBEDS is currently, Reg?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Sort of what we presented to the T-Chalk a week or two ago here, just an overview here, more detail next Tuesday.
Yeah. So like Reg said, we are continuing to forge forward with compiling all the financing for the project. To date, we have been we've signed, or we have selected lenders for the project. So that's a very big milestone that was done this summer. In August, we were awarded another $1.84 million from the DOER. There was a press release that just went out last Friday. And so currently we're waiting on just over a little bit over $1 million in other funding for the rest of the financing. And this, of course, has to align with the budget itself. So in terms of the design and recent cost estimates, we are working with the architect who's currently in the construction documents phase. And the next cost estimate for that is going to be coming up at the mid-October. So at that time, we're sort of waiting with our fingers crossed to make sure that the most recent budget aligns with our anticipated scope of sources that we have for the project. And then alongside that, we're going to be sort of ramping up discussions about relocation, like we just mentioned this fall, once we have a better understanding of the budget. And the last sort of bucket of work that finishes the project is our work on the repositioning with HUD. So for that, we've received initial approval from HUD, and right now there's a whole slew of other due diligence materials that that we have to submit. So the project is moving forward very quickly, and we're excited and hopeful that we can start construction next year. So for more updates and for any specific details and discussion with the architect, please come to the resident meeting next Tuesday, 6 p.m. at CBEDS Way.
I just throw in three other things, and jumping ahead on the agenda item for building on what Chris said, this DOER, which stands for Department of Energy Resources. So it's our, energy agency in Massachusetts, and they are a funding agency, among other things. So in addition to the 1.84 million that was announced a week or two ago, I guess, but it was in a week, a week ago, from the Healy administration, a big fanfare, like $42 million worth of awards. On the Linden Care side, we were also in the same competitive round, where about 1.4 million, if I remember. So actually, Needham Housing Authority, it's not the town of Needham, but Needham Housing Authority has received nearly 3 million. It's like 2.98 million in the form of 2 awards. And this is for decarbonization of residential housing, affordable residential housing in Massachusetts. What that's for. And we're only one of only communities that got 2 awards in this round. There of the 20 4 awards they made to 21 towns. We were one of only 2 communities that got 2 rounds. So kudos to both the Cambridge Housing Authority side for pulling that off, and to our HSC, Linden and Peabody Linden terrace developers as well for bringing in another $3 million into the Needham Housing Authority. So that was one thing I was going to mention. And then the second thing I was going to mention to the board is thinking about things, again, it being only 10 months away. Cheryl and I have invited Cambridge Housing Authority to have a regular in-person slot on our monthly meetings from now on, indefinitely, all the way through, start of construction, but obviously beyond that, because that's going to be one of the really big deals that we're doing here. And so starting next month, that you'll see that on our agenda. So, it's not going to be just a paper report, but also a real-time report with an update on what's going on. And, there's going to be some challenges down the road. I now give my official Reg Foster prediction. There are 20 things that we don't know about yet, bumps in the road that are going to come up in the next 2 years in this project. And I guarantee, I'll bet the quarter with anybody here that there's going to be 20 of them. And there's some of them will be big and some of them won't be so big. And we try to anticipate all the things in advance, but that's what happens. But we'll find a way around them. And because we're all going to make this thing happen. And then we'll have brand spanking new apartment buildings, that will last for another 40 years. And it's somebody else's problem, not mine, what we do in year 2070 or whatever it's gonna be here, so. Yeah, I don't think I'll be around, hopefully not. So, that's the second thing, and then I just want to ask Chris, I think you have one more announcement that you were gonna make for tonight here.
Yes, that's correct. I want to share with everyone that I'm actually going to be moving on from my role at the Cambridge Housing Authority, and my last day is actually going to be next Friday. So I want to thank you all so much for the opportunity to work with you all. It's been amazing. I've learned so much through this engagement with you, and I know that you're going to be in great hands with Matt and Margaret and the rest of the team. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Good luck, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
I can't
Yep.
resist. This is too modest as always. He moved to New York for personal reasons, New York City, a few months ago, and has still been running the project and keeping trains running on time somehow. But that's a kind of a tough thing to do, a virtual job assignment indefinitely. And he's landed, if you don't mind me telling this out of tales out of two, he landed an incredible gig with the New York City Housing Authority, which is the largest public housing authority in the country.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
good luck in your endeavors.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Entirely due to us. It has nothing to do with his talent,
Yeah.
He had such a good reference on his resume here that, he got a premier, landed a premier job. So I wish him the best of luck. And I'm expecting regular reports, as things.
Yes, no, I mean, I want to know exactly how everything at Seabed is doing. So if I don't hear from you directly, I'll hear through Margaret and Matt.
Thank
You're
you.
invited to the ribbon cutting at Seabeds, down the road here.
As long as you don't have a Yankees hat.
Yeah, then,
Congrats,
right.
Chris.
Thank you. I'm gonna hop off. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
thank you, Chris.
Great.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we're gonna open the public hearing on the 2026 state annual plan.
Okay, you've turned it over to
Cheryl,
me.
please.
Cheryl Gosselin, Executive Director, Needham Housing Authority. I do want to introduce Michael Thorstad. He is our executive assistant and has helped out with a lot of everything you see here this evening. And of course, Greg Gillis is in the room. should, Greg Gillis, our Director of Maintenance and Facilities, is in the room, should questions come up on that portion of the plan. But I am just going to briefly just read a statement about the plan, talk about the elements of the plan, and with the Vice Chair permission, open up the room for comments, I suppose. Okay. So the annual plan is a document compiled by the Housing Authority staff in advance of each new fiscal year. The plan serves as both a tool for the local housing authority to reflect upon the prior fiscal year and has an opportunity to develop a clear and transparent plan that builds on successes, identifies needs, and corrects any issues that have arisen in prior years. Additionally, the annual plan is an important tool for tenants who may use the document to better understand the operations and needs of their housing authority, advocate for changes, policies, and procedures, access data about the housing authority, and participate in their housing authority's governance. I just want to interrupt. I forgot to mention there are 2 extra plans on the table here if anyone wants a copy of the plan. Yeah, there's 2 there and there's 1 right there, Rich. Apologize for that.
Oh, right over here, that one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's go together.
Okay, great. Thank you. So in addition to the physical document, the annual plan is also a process of public engagement. Throughout the annual plan process, the LHA, Local Housing Authority, Executive Director, or her designee will be expected to review the plan with any local tenant organization and resident advisory board before the Local Housing Authority presents the plan to the Board of Commissioners. I've had a meeting with our local tenant organization on September 2nd, and we had a robust discussion on the elements of the plan as well as other issues that came up in that meeting. The annual plan, the elements, I'm going to go into the elements of the plan now. The annual plan includes the following elements or sections. An overview of the local housing authority, info regarding board members and myself as executive director. Sorry. It also has the capital improvement plan for funding and modernization of state public housing. It has a maintenance and repair plan detailing maintenance practices, the operating budget and actual expenses, PMR, which is performance management review results, and housing, the results and comments from the agency on the results of the PMR, a list of policies and the date last approved, a list of waivers from EOHLC regarding the date, regarding dates granted, and a glossary of terms. So that is our plan. Our LCRA has a copy of the plan and has reviewed the plan. And this portion of the meeting, Mr. Vice Chair, could be open if you had any other comment, barring any other comments for public comments.
Great. Why don't I open it to the board members? Any questions there? And then I'll open it. Questions, comments? Okay. Any questions from the community? Comments? Yes, Ross.
Thank you very much, Ross Donald. Again, there are a few things I wanted to take, but before I forget, the recording of the last meeting, the Zoom recording, the video recording is not posted.
Yeah, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm working with my IT team to finish that, to put the, so.
I think I don't know whether I was out of bounds or not. I was just talking with Will earlier. I said, Will, are you gonna be the technical assistant on this? He said, well, I'm just trying to help out, doing what I'm told and so forth. And I encouraged him, Will, this is the future. If he needs help.
We stay focused on the annual plan right now, 2026 annual plan. Yeah, thanks.
Just saying, it sounds like he could be helpful to getting that done. Yeah. So, anyway, for a meeting like this, I wanted to start off from the tenant's point of view. You know, we have a different perspective, and our point of view is, and when we develop the issues and so forth, we want to factor them into your plan as you've drawn it out, overview to policies and waivers and so forth. But from the point of view of the tenants, this has been confirmed by, I asked the question of Meta AI. So this coming gets confirmed by artificial intelligence that the #1 issue of residents of public housing is property maintenance and property conditions. So that's what we're looking at all the time for everything. It's a unanimous consensus of the residents when we had meetings starting last summer. The second issue, which is equal, again, 100% confirmation that this is an issue, is redevelopment. What's the status? What's the plans? You know, we didn't talk about task 4. I don't know what happened to task 4. That was supposed to be Linden Chambers or Linden Terrace, and it was vacant for a while because there was no work being done. It was supposed to be done by the housing authority, but they hadn't really taken on Peabody to do that work yet. So sometime we'd like to hear about the status of task number 4. And the third issue for residents is that the Residents Association partly is intended to provide community support for individual residents that have issues. And it reflects on the common good, even though, you know, 2 people may have differences of opinion. Somebody might be for the garden, somebody might be against the garden. What we want to do as a residents organization is provide the formats, the rules, the regulations, so that people can deal with these issues with the support of the Residents Association, which I hope has the support of the Housing Authority. So from that point of view, looking at the table of contents, there is a number of issues that we'll probably try to advance, which is one is the Residents Advisory Board to provide input on things. I think well, if we missed a lot of opportunities. We were starting a residents association. It would have been a perfect time to institute the input, a mechanism to provide input for things like the upgrading of this building. $58,000, and we get the same air conditioners that we had in the old building. So this is not an upgrade, you know. So I'm using that as an example of what a residents advisory board would have provided. It would have provided you some information so that you can design away the noise. You know, we could have done a better job on that. But that's the kind of thing that the residents advisory board might be able to provide. You might not accept their opinions, but it would help, I think, make a better any kind of construction, as well as policies too. On policies, I want to go back to you know, I've been able to keep a lot of the documentation going back to let's see, March 2019, public meeting. One of the many residents, this is by a resident who was making a public comment, that said, the board needs to get more involved than with just policy. Other people have said this recently in the past year. We're spending a lot of time on developing policy and then redeveloping policy. We got resident participation policies. And one of the things we seem to do is start a new policy without reviewing the past policies. You know, maybe it's easier to do something new and not do the research. But there, for instance, when the pet policy was reviewed, a couple of years ago. One of the commissioners said, "What, we had an old policy that said something else. They had a 45-pound weight limit. Why aren't we including that?" So, you know, we started on a new pet policy without really reviewing the old policy. And we seem to do that. We spend a lot of time on policies without.
Oh, it's an update.
Thanks, Ross.
Pardon
Ross, we're at about 5 minutes. We would kind of extend some time, but what else on the state annual plan?
That's not.
Right. One of the things that's come up on, over the years, I've been able to collect the copies of the capital improvement plan, as a previous board plans, and of course I can't find it right here right now. But it included, oh, and on this report of 2019, somebody brings up a question of the surveillance system. It was supposed to be completed in December 2018. You know, well, I don't have it right in front of me, it's here someplace. In 2024, they talked about the surveillance system, the cameras were supposed to be installed. And on the, can I look at that?
This,
Yeah, we have cameras, surveillance systems, wherever it is. $233,000. It's supposed to be starting first, 24,000 is going to be spent in 2026. We already have a record of having spent somewhere between $100,000 to $200,000 on the surveillance system, and that's the old one. I guess that's not working. We got 2 new cameras.
Plus, we're at about
Apparently they're
6
not
minutes, and
working
this is a
either,
good
right?
item. We're at about 6 minutes, and that's a good example of something to bring up in the process we've established with Cheryl. Okay.
And there's one issue that some other people may be bringing up, but I brought up.
I'm sorry, could you shut him down?
that's really rude.
Janice, I got it. Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Okay,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. It's come up several times, asbestos remediation. The job costs about $650 every time it comes up. I've questioned it. I didn't, demand any answers, but I just suggested it's something we could look at. It's of interest, and there's been no real response, so I'd like to make a more affirmative request here. We'd like to hear about asbestos remediation, and we'd also like to know what system you use to track the work that's being done on the units. As I understand it, we have a record of the work that's been done on all the units. I'd like to hear what some of these, we got Linden Part B, it's 40 units, got 32 units on one side of the parking lot, got 40 units on this side, and I'll close. And yet in the documentation, it's like, it lists them all as being occupied. Well, I don't know what occupied means, because apparently they're occupied, but they're not being occupied by renters. It's being occupied for another purpose, or it's offline or something like that. Anyway,
Thank
I have
you.
a lot more questions. Maybe I could deliver it in writing.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Marlene.
Thank you. So my name is Marlene Costa. With regard to the capital plan, that I'm looking at the main issues here that are concern chambers. And the electrical replacement panels was mentioned, interior common areas. For some reason, heating systems and window replacement isn't even on this plan. Now, they have figures here, 156,000, for example, for the electrical panel replacement. The electrical panels here in all the apartments and chambers were from 1970. They have been obsolete for since the early 1990s. They cannot be repaired. They cannot even get circuits to replace them because the boxes are too small. It is a safety hazard. It's a fire hazard.
They're doing it.
And there's, the thing is, what likelihood is there going to be for these electrical circuit breaker boxes to be replaced because that sort of dovetails into the question that I had for Representative Tarsi. This $2 million that was supposed to be for capital improvements and repairs of existing properties. So this is a glaring defect. I'm glad to see it's on the annual plan. But our lives could potentially are at risk for electrical fires. And they cannot even, they're so obsolete, they can't be replaced. I own a home. I know that the costs, for each individual box, just waiting to see if someone's apartment explodes and then just fixing that one box. That is not a proper management. That's putting people at risk. Also, I think the heating systems, I know personally in my building in Chambers, and I've heard of other tenants in other buildings in Chambers as well, they go several days without heat during the winter. It's off for 3 or 4 days, then it's on for a week or two, then it's off for 2 or 3 days. It's reported, and when it's reported, we are discouraged from reporting it. I reported it once after waiting 3 days, and I was told, well, you know what? 5 or 6 people have already called. You shouldn't even be calling because, we've already heard about it. No, you have to listen to this. I haven't been speaking for 3 minutes. I think that the heating systems need to be part of the capital plan, and it is not here. I know this meeting isn't really recorded, it's edited or something on YouTube after the fact, so nobody in the town of Needham knows what's going on here at Chambers. But I'm gonna make sure that they do find out about it, because we are at risk. And the asbestos remedy that Mr. Donald spoke about, we wanna know which apartments that these tenants are living in that have been, it's been proven that you have admitted in writing that the asbestos is in their apartment. We want to know which units of these and which tenants' lives are affected, their health and safety is affected by this asbestos, and what they're going to do about it. Whether they're going to tear it down in 2 years, or they're going to tear it down in 3 years, they're going to tear it down in 3 months. Those people need to know. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Those people need to know. So the only thing I will say in closing is quickly, the preventative maintenance schedule and checklist, it doesn't have a number on it, but it's in your annual plan. Now, on the bottom, it says it's August 1st, 2022 as a final draft. So I don't know if this is held on since 2022, because that's all the information I was given in the annual plan. Now, especially with respect to the first 2 pages, which is 1 out of 5 and 2 out of 5, it's loaded with disinformation. None of these, and I can testify, at least the past 3.5 years I've lived here, none of these things have been done. You have check marks for every monthly for the roof, for example, and the cleaning of, they have branches everywhere, destroying the roofs, the gutters. They only have once a year, somebody takes a few leaves out of the gutters. None of these things have been done. These routine maintenance, I refer you to page 1 and 2. They have not been done. They haven't been done monthly, and they haven't been done yearly. I don't want to list all of it, the windows, the decks, the cleaning, the roofs, the cleaning of walls, and none of this has been done. So I don't know, are you submitting this to HUD? Or just the HLC, or who is reading these? Because it's all disinformation. You're just checking off boxes and none of this work has been done. We're living in filth, the carpets, the heating system in the hallways, all the common areas, the laundry room. There's a hole the size of your foot in the laundry room. It's been there that I know for 3.5 years. So this report needs to be revised and it has to be honest. I hope it's going to HUD. Maybe I should send it to HUD or somebody should send it to HUD because it's just false information. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm done.
Yes, I have a follow-up, Jim, concerning the asbestos. In my suit that was filed at Norfolk Superior Court, in my complaint, was an allegation that there was asbestos in the buildings. The answer received from your attorneys was that there is asbestos in some of the buildings,
but not all of the buildings. I plead with you, what are the addresses where asbestos is present? I also plead with you, when was the last time there was an environmental study done on the asbestos? And if there was, we certainly as tenants have a right to know what are we living with. Lastly, in my research, if you have to apply for a demolition permit, within 10 days of that application, you have to produce an environmental study. So I'm not asking you to do something that is outlandish. Your goal is to demolish the buildings. And it's mandatory that you produce an environmental study. But I would ask, just what has been done in the past, that you share the information with us. We are not your enemy. We are your friend. You are the ones that are working for us. We appreciate it. But please be upfront with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything
Thank you,
else?
Jeff.
Anything else? All right. I think,
Anybody online?
oh, yeah, sorry.
Their hands up.
Feeling badly with my. Screen. No hands up.
Got it. Okay, in that case, that closes the,
Remember, you said you were gonna wait until the end?
we're still on the annual plan public hearing, not the resident community input. Thank you. So, yes, please. Yeah.
So I just want to add that, thank you everyone who spoke for your comments. And Michael and I have a big job to do with making sure these comments are included in the plan submission to EOHLC. The plan is not a HUD plan, it's an Executive Office of Housing and Livable Community Plan, and they will approve the plan once we go through the process. But all of your comments will be submitted with the plans submission approval to EOHLC. So I just wanted to say that, and I also wanted to thank you all for your comments. Did you have something? Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just, want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. So the meeting on Tuesday, with Chris.
Yeah.
Is for seabeds only.
Yes. Thank you.
So what I'd like to know, and that's been repeated a lot, so that should be very, it should be in everybody's head. So my question, I only have one question, and that is for Linden, or if you call it Linden Chambers, if you connect it, but I live in the Linden part. I'd like to know just when there's going to be a meeting about when we're supposed to leave, how we're supposed to leave, where we're going. All the moving questions that we all know are very stressful for everybody and anybody. I would like to know, do we have a separate, does Linden or Linden and Chambers, whatever, do we have a separate meeting that will happen that will apply to us only?
Yeah, and I would ask
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if you could
Yeah,
briefly
what I,
address it.
since it doesn't have anything to do with the annual plan, I would suggest that we close the hearing. And then not only answer your question if the chair, or I'll need to ask answer the question, but also there was a serious question of public safety with respect to the asbestos.
Yeah.
That I don't think we should leave unaddressed before we go on to approving checks for signing and stuff like that. So, and so go ahead.
With that, let me close the public hearing on the 2026 state annual plan. Okay,
Second that.
thank you. And do we need to vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
To submit, for Cheryl to proceed with the next steps.
yes, and so do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we authorize our executive director to proceed with the next steps, which includes incorporating any and all comments that need to be improved, and that were been presented here at the, public hearing, and try to get and as you did last year, which is good for us, get it in on time, and so we can get everything approved, because this plan is what produces our budget. Yeah, our funding starting January 1st, 2026, and we want to definitely have that in place.
Thanks. Could I get a second?
Second,
Thank you. And we'll do roll call vote, order of seniority.
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on
Can I
to,
do those two questions?
yeah, just get
Sure.
open
Yeah,
up.
so-
So just moving on to resident and community.
All right,
input.
so good point. Yeah, sorry. See, I gotta, it's my lip, you got it under control. So we're now, these are actually also resident comments that we're kicking off here. To your question, I want to just bring forward from later, like a few, 45 minutes down the agenda, the update status on the Linden Terrace project, because that's what you're really asking about. And there's the good news and, yeah, really good news on the Linden Terrace project and the answer to your question. The news is that we submitted a nearly $60 million proposal to HLC in February. Those of you with good memories know that from our last, tenant residence meetings and other meetings we've had with the town, and many other town meeting members and everybody else, and we've heard since the last board meeting, so I'm reporting it to the board as well as to you, that we were turned down as we expected to be, because there are many other projects that are already in the queue that were submitted 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ahead of us that have been waiting their turn for funding, and there's not enough money going around. So our project has been turned down, but this project, Linden Terrace, the one you're asking about and worried about,
Right.
has been turned down, not because it's something wrong with it. Actually, we got feedback from HLC that it's a very good project to do. And I'm, again, just giving a summary update here, for the purpose of answering your question right away. And that means we resubmit, if we can, to the next annual funding round, which is the same cycle as what we just did. So refresh everybody's memory that you submit a preliminary application sometime in November, and they haven't set the date for that. And again, it's going to be a $60 million project, probably be a little bit more costly because of construction inflation. And then we hear by January whether we get into the formal full round application. And then if we are invited into the full round, then we have to get the, updated full application in by the end of February. Again, no exact date has been set, but it's called the Winter 2026 funding round, which includes the low income tax credits, but like 12 other funding sources that we and everybody else compete for. And then if we meet that deadline, if you've been invited and meet the deadline, we will not hear until next August 2026, whether or not we've got the money or not. And we may get turned down again because there's so much need. So right now, our HSC Peabody development partners are very encouraged that we got into the first round and we got good feedback, and we have a high quality project that's generally supported by HLC. And we've all been for 2 or 3 years expecting that it would be a miracle if we got funded in the first round. So the project's on track eventually, but they've suspended work. There's no more development going on, yeah, no more design, we have 70%. Construction documents are at the 70% stage, which is what you have to have to submit in February 2025. But we're not progressing them any further, we're not spending any dollars doing anything. We're not perfecting a resident relocation, temporary relocation plan. We're trying not to spend any of the money that we have for anything until, except for getting into the next round. And that's the status of it. And the answer to the question.
Yes.
Go ahead. Follow.
So in February, let me just make sure, February 2026, it'll be yes or no.
No, February 26th is we submit the full application. And in August of 2026 is yes or no for the second time.
Okay. So that's the set, okay. And this is August 2026, is the yes or no?
And then to your
For
other,
second.
yeah, and then to your other question, right now, there's no plan to have any tenant meeting to say we're doing nothing for the next year. This is the report for, and if we need to do something, maybe, Cheryl, I defer that to you, but maybe we should, a lot of people don't attend this meeting. So I'm sure they have the same thing. Maybe we should put a little resident notice out.
Yeah.
If you think it's the right thing to do, just it's, briefing and just slide it under everybody's door so they know what's going on.
We can do that. We can
Yeah,
do that
okay.
in-
Because I think that would be a good, I didn't think of that, and thank you for asking that question. Okay.
In pursuit of the known unknown. Thank you. No, it's important.
So, there's the other asbestos question.
Yes, please.
Want to do that?
Address that.
The asbestos question from Marlene and from Jim. I'm happy to report it's nearly as bad as you fear, okay? There is,
Your attorneys answer the way they did.
I'm gonna answer your question. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but would you
The
like,
answer
I'm not
is-
asking you to talk to me. I'm asking the chair if I can answer the question
Please.
you already put on the table, okay? May I do that,
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair? Thank you. There has been what you call an environmental report that fully assessed the asbestos in not just the Linden Street buildings, but also the chambers as well. It's been done within the last 2 years, as part of the, I think it was the schematic design step. And Mr. Burke is correct in stating that it would have been needed to, as part of the process in which we got the special permit, that Mr. Burke filed a lawsuit to try to block the project, but it was done that.
Yeah.
Okay, and done, and that report has been available for downloading since it was, issued. But may have not been noticed, and it's a public document.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to make it available to Cheryl
Yeah.
to put up on our website or do whatever Cheryl thinks we should do with it, to make it such you can have your own copy.
Yes.
And it's like 160 pages long. And it goes through every single building, and it does testing, not just the observational testing, but they look for hidden asbestos as well. We are already asbestos removal compliant from work that was done years and years ago. But it has been recently confirmed in this report in the form of this 160 pages. And yes, it did, and I think this might be cause of the confusion for Mr. Burke. Yes, it did confirm that there's still traces of asbestos left, but if, for example, it can be encapsulated, so one of the things you do is you either remove asbestos or you safety encapsulate it. And that's legally has been done already, and we certify every year to that, and also, by the way, to lead paint as well. That's another thing. And so, for example, it's mastic, which is basically adhesive for floor tiles. If you peel up floor tiles that are stuck down, you'll find that there's trace amounts of the the asbestos in the sticky adhesive that was used 40 years ago, before we all knew that asbestos was not a good thing. But it's safely encapsulated. But the reason the report is there is when we tear any building down, you don't want to just tear it down. You want to like deal with those trace amounts first, then tear them down, because then for obvious reasons. So
Yep.
I will, Cheryl, I'll send you that another copy, a soft copy of that, and we could figure out how to make it available to everybody.
Would you circulate that to each one of us?
Of course, yeah, it came up
It's,
at our
it's,
meeting.
it's
Yeah.
a very big file, so it might, need some help. I'm not sure it's small enough to email, so and it's 100, I remember it being like 160 plus or minus pages here, so it's a lot to print out here too, but the information's available, is all I want to say. There's no lack of information. It's public information that's been around for a couple years, and absolutely we should make it available if there's a shred of concern on anybody's behalf,
Yeah, thank you.
in my opinion.
Right, the hour's late. Anything else from?
Question, Reg, I was under the impression that we were gonna hear in November whether there's a go concerning the monies. Is that off the board now?
May I answer that?
Please, yep.
Yeah, so we did hear in August that we don't have the money, the grant funding, the tax credit funding, the financial layer funding to start the Linden Terrace project. That was what I was referring to last August. Carol, I'll send you the press release on that as well, if you want to make it available to everybody tomorrow. It just came out like a week or two ago. And it basically, it says, here are all the projects we're gonna fund, and we're not on the list, is that, so that being and it's a big deal for the governor's office to announce, obviously.
So November off the board.
So this November coming up,
Yeah.
we start over again, another annual cycle
Okay.
with a preliminary application in November. Hopefully, we'll get invited to the final round in January 26th. The final round is, 26th round, final application is due end of February 26th. Then we wait until next August 2026 to hear if we're successful in the second try. Make sense?
That's where Cheryl said no.
All right.
Point to make about the asbestos. I'm glad there was a report done, that you mentioned it 2 years ago. Now, I've been living here for more than 2 years, and I was not only at my apartment or anyone in my building that was inspected at chambers. So I don't know which buildings they inspected, but to the best of my knowledge, no one came to my building chambers. And as far as the floor tile issue, the tiles themselves, the condition in most, not only my building, but in other buildings and chambers, the tiles themselves could be asbestos tiles as well as the adhesive below. But the tiles themselves are all, at least in most apartments, they're all broken up. There are several, it's just that the tiles are split and broken. So if there is asbestos, for example, even if it's the adhesive, much less the tile itself, which to the best of my knowledge, nobody's inspected in the past 2 years in my apartments or my building, then that means that asbestos is just out in the open. Now, you can cover it open, you can't remove it because that releases all the poison. It could be covered over with a new floor. And they should have done that years ago. That's when those tiles are in that condition. When I first moved in, the pre-condition statement, which I wanted to sign, which every tenant has a right to sign, they told me, I just wanted to list the fact that the tiles were broken because I asked them to fix it and they refused. They said, we can't do that. And they made me sign a document, just a pre-existing apartment's condition statement, saying that everything was in good repair. And they told me if I didn't sign it, then they could not rent me the apartment. Now, I needed a place to live, so I had to sign it. But that was the condition when I first moved in. And I think that I speak for other tenants that have the same issues in their apartment. So, I'm just curious, and the question is, I don't know if Cheryl knows or someone knows. You know, was the apartments in Chambers, actually somebody came in and inspected them 2 years ago or approximately 2 years ago to see that there was asbestos in the apartments, whether it's from the floor tiles, which is a notorious, thing where it has the asbestos, or anywhere else. When did they come to Chambers?
I'm
Was it
thinking
2
if-
years ago? Is that gonna be in the report? Because, all the tiles are broken up. It's not just my apartment.
I think that, my understanding, that 160-page report will be, yep, the 100.
Nobody came to my building. That's all I'm saying. So if I read this report and they say they came to Chambers, it's something that's gonna have to be looked into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I can comment on that.
yeah.
I care. I'm sorry, I care. And so if I may,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chairman,
Yeah.
with all due respect, you're asking detailed questions about a report you haven't read. And then, excuse me, just let me finish my sentence, just let me finish my sentence, okay? Please let me finish my sentence. Please do that courtesy for me, okay? I mean, that was a comma. I was pausing to finish my sentence. Mr. Chair, the report does in fact detail exactly what they did and what they didn't do. And I mean, again, with due respect for the concern, because I would, if I were anybody living here, I would have a concern as well. That we let people read the report, and then if they have follow-up questions, they can bring them. I would suggest you file a work order for a maintenance.
Can
thing.
Greg speak to that? Can Greg respond to that as well?
And Greg can respond, that's up to the chair here, but I'm just saying, the report, let's not talk about the report that nobody's read, that didn't even know existed, 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, let me recommend that, let's,
About it 2 years ago and say it was available.
I'm gonna recommend that, people avail themselves to the report. Right, and then we can get into, obviously, Greg and others with additional detail. Oh, if there's something dead right now, please do, Greg, go ahead.
What is this report
Hey.
called? This is a.
Hey, excuse me, you haven't been recognized. Okay, please.
Chambers was checked, there is no asbestos in Chambers at all. Floor tiles, if they're 12 by 12. They're not asbestos, if they're 9 square inch by 9 square inch, they're asbestos. That's rule of thumb, environmentally. Correct, Mr. Bowles?
Pardon me?
Correct, that's how it generally goes.
I've heard that.
Excuse me, please,
I'll accept your.
excuse me, please, Greg, just please, please direct it to the chair, okay?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Over on Linden Street, on the some of the carpets, there are asbestos tiles. That was done, because they started to peel and stuff like that. But if you cover with pad, cover with carpet, it was legally considered encapsulated.
thank you.
The pipes are fiberglass. They've been tested through all of their,
Thank you.
which I've witnessed.
Thank you. Very helpful information. Appreciate it. Might save some people a couple pages, but you should still avail yourself to the report. And then we can follow up off of that with more input from Greg and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Right. And it should have been released 2 years ago if it was done 2 years ago.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I just need to know, what is this report? Is this a property condition report from 2023, or what is it? By Cambridge or what?
Do you have the name of the report? We don't have the name of the report right now, but we will be clear to be sure to share it's a report
It's the 160-page report.
that addresses asbestos, which was the initial question. All right, anything else? All right,
Doreen.
and Doreen, sorry, you had earlier asked for, yeah, that's what we,
But
yeah.
no, I'm really enjoying and appreciating everyone's comments. I think I've introduced myself to everybody who knows me here. I'm just getting to the point where I'm gonna have to get used to what's going on and say, do whatever you want. But I had one consoling and compensating thought that came to me though. In the process of your construction, why don't you like plan to send all the residents where you're gonna be constructing to Hawaii or something? And everybody will be happy. This is just an icebreaker, okay? Because sometimes it gets so formal here and so stiff and so like you're in a courtroom that it makes you so tense. And we shouldn't have that. We should have more human interaction. We should be listening to each other. We should foster a better tenant, landlord, and all these, official chair people interaction and relationship. Okay, I listened to everybody, everything was very helpful, very interesting, all the, numerical reports, financial, numbers and everything. My thing now. Okay, I'm in a humble spot right now. Because my issue is a heartfelt and internal issue, because I feel that we have internal issues that need to be addressed. And, possibly provided a solution. Because they also need, because internal issues need to be redeveloped. As much as the outer condition. So, I'm Dorita Moriarty, I live here on Linden. And I'm the mother of a resident that lives in Chambers. And for the record, I'm also the secretary of the LTO here, the Linden Chambers Tenant Organization. What I am not is I'm not an idiot. And I'm not a female dog. And many very cruel, hurling things that I have been treated as, no, just a minute, and neither is Ross Donald.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
any of this. I am not, I am trying to maintain, and I have been, called names when I am simply trying to maintain order and vying for the benefit of all. I'd like a policy to be added with regards to person in charge of regulating temperature control in our community activities here. Resident coordinators need to be better able to enforce order and attention. Harassing, name calling to older citizens cannot be tolerated, and disorderly disruptions and discord will not make us work effectively as an LTO. We shouldn't have to give in to the insubordination of one individual demanding their way. The verbal abuse has to stop right now. No.
I heard some valuable
It
stuff on the
creates-
policy side, but you're
It
beyond 3
creates
minutes.
an environment as deadly as asbestos. Okay, law enforcement should have to be called for situations we need to be able to manage internally. I would like to see verbal abuse be obliterated. Related to the redevelopment, I like to dispel statements like, you're the only one that.
Excuse me,
that wants
it did-
this, that doesn't want this.
We got the
This is
policy,
very
we got the
personal.
theme.
This is
I know, but you're getting into accusations and other things that are outside of the bounds of this. So we got the feedback on policy, I think,
The feedback on what policy?
on stuff that you'd like in our policies. I heard that.
I'd like not to be dismissed so casually, please.
Hey,
Just let me
you've
finish
had
because I
4
worked on
minutes.
this.
You've had 4 minutes and it started with Hawaii, so
Give me one more, if you don't mind. Please, I've waited out all this time, 2 hours, to hear everybody. Can I be heard? Because this is what I am asking for, is that we listen to each other. That instead of isolating people and humiliating them just because they ask a question.
excuse me,
or
please
something.
address and let me just ask the executive
Well-
director maybe to help.
Excuse me, okay? I just
Mr.
think that
Chair,
we need
if I
to
may
be,
be
I
rec-
just need.
Yes.
Nobody
I'd
should
like
be
to
isolated,
recognize,
nobody
pardon
should
me.
be isolated.
Excuse me, let me just say, because Jim is a newbie chairman here. I just want to say, we have a policy about personal complaints between tenants and between that sort of thing. And it's not only a policy, but it's something that's required because this is a public meeting that is broadcast to anybody who's listening here. And this does not take away from anything. you're trying to say, and then I see you feel it very, very strongly. But we can't, according to this policy and regulation, make, you know, allegations that could, let me just finish, could get in the area of causing the kind of trouble that we don't want to be in. What the policy says is if you have issues like this, you can bring them up in private, working through the executive director. And it's not that we don't care. And it's not that Jim is trying to shut you down or anything
I
like
know what
that.
you're saying, but I still that I have internal.
Well, I know, but there's a way of doing that.
Wait until the end.
And we also have a grievance policy that's available, and you can even file a grievance, a formal grievance, which starts in a standard process, you know, that again, respects the privacy rights of everybody. It also respects that, you know, if there are allegations, you know, we live in a country, fortunately, unlike some other countries where, you know, you need, both sides get to speak, and you can't do it in public in front of the board
Okay,
meeting. So,
well,
so all I'm saying,
got it.
what Jim is trying to do is say, you made you're saying it should be addressed as a policy issue or whatever policy we have, maybe you haven't read it, or you don't know about it, you know, maybe needs to be approved. And then we as a board, we only meet once a month, we don't do things, you know, we turn that over to the
Well,
executive director.
Excuse me,
follow
I
up on
got it,
okay?
but I have one concern with relation to safety and hazard and, you know, condition here. And that's, at our last meeting with, Ms. Cheryl here, it was mentioned that smoke cameras, smoke machines were gonna be installed in the buildings to detect smoke.
Smoke detectors is what.
Smoke, well, no, she was talking about smoke machines to pick up if any resident was smoking
Yes.
within the
Let me
perimeters.
ask her to address that, please.
Point
Thank
of
you.
clarity,
Yeah.
that was a major issue that the LCRA brought up about smoking.
Yeah.
And part of the enforcement policy within the, of the smoke, part of enforcement with our smoking policy was, my plan is to install smoking machines to those violators. After having gone through the court system, we would get permission to install a smoking machine to detect
Yep.
continued, smoking in the unit.
Thank you for clarity on
All
it.
right, only because, smoking on, you know, in the covered porches over there, and specifically where my daughter lives, and blowing fumes in the direction of, she's asthmatic, and, you know, in her face, while I'm trying to enjoy sitting and visiting with her, it's not okay.
Okay, thanks. We're about 6 minutes onto this, and that sounds like an issue that can also be processed through the executive director, right?
Yeah, I think we're due, to see you soon, right?
Okay,
Yes, on the 29th of September.
I'll be looking forward to it then.
thank you. Great. All right, moving on. Next on the agenda is review and
Yeah,
approval of,
I know we're late into, public comment. There is a person that has
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
their
yep,
hand up.
yep, thank you.
Oh.
I didn't mean to interrupt you guys today.
Sorry, we have a meeting in order. Thanks.
I just said I didn't mean to interrupt you guys today.
Thank you.
No disrespect, all right? It is a community room, and I do live here and I do pay rent. Everybody have a nice evening.
You too.
Thank you.
And that's Kalpana. So. Doing technology today. All right. Yeah.
Okay, Kalpana, is that right? She's still there, Cheryl?
I did allow her to talk, so I'm not sure she realizes that. Maybe it didn't go through. Sorry, Kalpana, we're trying to get to you. Kalpana?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
2 days ago, I had a conversation with executive director regarding the smoking policy. And I do not want in a meeting address somebody, but I have experienced this smoking by committee members, LTO. I'm talking about LTO. And
Okay,
tomorrow,
back to it, we're not gonna, back to what,
no,
the chair.
tomorrow, just listen to me, just one point. Tomorrow, there is a health department board meeting. I am a non-medical first responder, and I am going to attend that meeting by Zoom and requesting them that how should we emphasize or make sure that the policy is in place. Thank you. Have a nice
you.
evening.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There is one more.
Yep.
It's the vice chair. And that's Sue. Is
Sue, you've got the floor.
Yeah, well, okay. I know you guys are gonna be discussing this later on, and this is for Cheryl. The ACOP draft policy. Would you please send out the draft to the residents or email it? Because they have the right to see what's in the draft according to HUD, and I think it would be of major interest and maybe get some positive feedback on it.
Yes,
No.
Sue, thank you.
It's on
Sue,
the
for that.
website.
Sue, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, so thank you for that, and we will definitely schedule a meeting with RAB board members, of which you are one, and other residents to review and discuss the ACOP. The ACOP is currently a binder, a 2-inch binder policy.
Mhm.
We're still working on the policy. And the discussion on it will be among residents. It's not something that we can send out to everyone. We will make it available on our website for folks to look at. But you will be on the first line, in the front line on having a first look at it, and we definitely look forward to getting your comments on it.
And that'll be the draft that will be available online?
It will be, the policy, once it's approved by the board, will be available online.
No, but how about the draft?
So the draft, we can talk about that at our RAB meeting, how we
Okay.
can solicit as much comment as possible from residents.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so can I just reiterate, Cheryl?
Janice, yes, go ahead, Janice.
Hi, Cheryl. Well, I mean, hi, Sue.
Hi.
We'll be getting the RAB board, I believe, together in the next couple of weeks, several weeks down the road. And we're gonna be able to discuss those particulars. So,
Great.
yeah,
Thanks.
okay.
Thank you. Great. All right, anyone else online?
No,
All right,
no.
so moving on from resident and community input. Next on the agenda is review and approval, starting with NHA bill schedule check warrant for $431,631.48.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the bill check warrant of $431,631.48.
Thank you.
I
Do I have a
second that.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, let me call the roll call.
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Second,
You're voting aye, sorry, right? Okay, good. Janice votes aye and Amanda.
Outside.
Thank you. All right, next up is HRH LLC bill schedule check warrant for $37,344.12.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve that HRH LLC bill check warrant.
second.
Thank you. Thank you. Janice has a second. And let me do a roll call.
Any questions on the?
I'm sorry, any questions, discussion? Hearing none,
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye. Janice,
I vote aye.
Amanda Berman
Good.
votes aye.
great, thank you. All right, then the consent agenda is next up. And I forget how we process this. Do we?
Jerry,
Visit off meeting.
any objections to considering this as a whole?
Yes.
Or any amendments
Are there-
or?
yes, I do remember that.
15 minutes, and if not.
Are there
hearing
any
no-
issues or anything that anyone would like pulled from the consent agenda for discussion? Assuming, is there anything?
Hearing none.
Hearing none?
Some of these
Mr. Foster?
issues are interesting in their detail. Like, I don't care about the tenant's accounts receivable or all that stuff, that's a little personal. But vacancy reports, work orders, the account report seems to be innocuous.
Excuse me,
They
Mr.
don't-
Donald,
Pardon me?
I made an exception to allow you to speak in that regard, but you're.
I'm
you
not
know, out of
hearing what
order.
you're saying.
Yeah, I made an exception to allow you to speak there, but we're in the middle of a process here.
I know the process, I'm objecting, I think we should.
But you're not a member of this board. You don't have a right to object.
I have a right to comment on everything that's on the agenda. You know, I should bring
Not
in.
on the agenda.
So yeah, you can submit that in writing as always, okay, in advance ideally. So now we're on the consent agenda. We're in the middle of the process.
I can speak, I can be heard on the agenda items. That's what I'm doing.
Not out of order, not out of process. And you haven't been recognized. It's not the order. You haven't been recognized. Please sit down.
Oh, great, are you gonna recognize me?
No, I'm not gonna recognize you because we're in process here.
On these matters, this will go right to the.
You had the right
You
to
don't
be
let me
heard.
speak.
You had the right to be heard in resident community input.
What's that?
You had the right to be heard and you were heard extensively in
No,
resident community
during the
input.
agenda, I have a right to be heard on this agenda item. You're discussing it now. I have a right to be heard on this agenda item. All right, I won't press it, but you're making a mistake.
No, he's
Well,
not making a.
I'll ask for some clarification on this. It's terrible.
Please let me help you
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
We all have to cut him a little bit of slack here. But our process is that if you have comments on any agenda items, as you very frequently do, that during the resident input section, you basically list them off and they will be addressed or taken under advisement, either one. And we're past that agenda item now of resident input, and Flower is very late.
Well,
and
I
people-
don't think that's reasonable.
I'm not having a debate with you, I'm just informing the chair.
3 minutes,
Yeah,
3 minutes for all that.
I'm telling you, it is not our process. And Mr. Donald, more than anybody else, knows what our process is, because he has comments at every meeting. And I think it's a good solution on your part to, at this time, ask him to submit any comments he has,
Yes,
questions in writing to the executive director.
Yeah.
And next meeting, he can remember to bring up anything he has on the agenda.
Absolutely.
When we are at the resident input. And I also would just say personally, it's been a very long day for me in this past, it's like 7, almost 30. And we have a lot to get through still, and I would appreciate if we don't make this too long tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate that for all the residents too. Thanks for that. So with the consent agenda, and I've lost my place here admittedly.
So hearing no objection
Hearing
from
no
the.
objections, yeah.
The commissioners, I'll take a motion to adopt this by unanimous.
Yes, I will take adoption to adopt this by unanimous consent. Thank you.
I call the vote.
So calling the vote then,
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
It's adopted. for
It's adopted.
unanimous.
For unanimous consent. Yep, great. Okay, on to the next topic. I'm going to turn over to our executive director or any of the board members, feedback on the draft RFP for the fee accountant. Cheryl, do you want to introduce that, please?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I also, if I could,
Yeah.
introduce Ian Tink,
Yeah.
who is online with us as well.
Thank you.
He is our consultant that is working with us on some drafting our human resources policy, as well as the fee accountant RFBP. Ian has worked at the Housing Authority for many, many years. He has assisted us. He is the reason we have a Ross Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency Grant and a Family Self-Sufficiency Grant as well. And working on a non-presidential emergency grant and just an overall person, I can go to him for guidance and questions, and I enjoy my conversations with him. He's extremely helpful to me in a lot of business matters, and I appreciate Ian working with us on this very important tool that we need, policy that we need. So welcome, Ian.
Okay, what we're looking for tonight, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
welcome, Ian.
Thank you very much. What we're looking for tonight is feedback on the fee accountant RFP, which was distributed. But first, let me just talk a little bit. I do have a long relationship with the Housing Authority. I have been consulting to housing authorities for 31 years and doing all kinds of consulting, management consulting, recruitment, annual and 5-year plans, a huge number of grant applications, a lot of HR projects. And so currently the projects that I'm working on with the Housing Authority, we already worked on the performance evaluation form. We're working on the fee accountant RFP. We're going to be working on the assistant director recruitment, on job descriptions, on the policy manual, and also employee relations. And so those are all issues that we will be addressing with the Housing Authority. So with reference to the RFP, the executive director and I are going to have a phone conference tomorrow to try to finalize the RFP. And so before that, we would like to get your feedback on the draft so far.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you, Ian. And we've done a lot of work on the draft. You have a copy of that in your packet. What's new to the draft is the scope of services. We added a summary page that talks about our programs that we manage. And so sorry. Yeah, it talks about the purpose and the federal and state lease housing programs, state capital fund, our FSS program, which we are escrowing large amounts of money for our residents, a nonprofit organization, which is important for us to have some support on that program as well. Organization functions and the request for a scope of work that remained the same. I just changed the summary page. And if you had any questions or like to add anything to that, that would be helpful to Ian and I. And also, there are attachments that Michael was gracious enough to send out to everyone. And whether or not Ian and I and Michael will determine whether we are going to use all of the attachments. I would also suggest that we have, that the board consider convening a small committee to review the final plan for execution and put it together for board, presentation and, approval.
Thank you. So right now we'll
I
get.
think you mean appoint a board
Oh,
subcommittee.
did I say that? What did I
You said
say?
Convene a committee is.
I
opposed to
did.
appoint a
Okay,
board
I do.
subcommittee.
Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. Yes, you're absolutely right. A committee needs to be appointed to review the process and, make a recommendation to the board.
Thanks for sharing that in advance, and I know we've had a chance to review it, so, if any of the board members have, any comments or questions about the RFP? Let me start with, Madam Treasurer. Amanda?
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Yes, no, this is very exciting. Thank you all for your work on this. I know these can be a lot to put together, especially something related to the financial matters. My main comment is, I think it would be helpful to have this out for 6 weeks as opposed to just 4 weeks. I know it's a moving timeline right now based on when it actually is finalized, but I think just to ensure as many responses as possible and as solid of responses as possible, I would give the respondents 6 weeks in rather than 1 month. Yeah, that's my main comment. Thank you.
Thanks. Cool.
Hello.
Anyone else? Yes, Janice.
I would, second Amanda's opinion.
Got it. Thank you.
Because she's got a little bit more experience in the greater scheme
Thank you.
of things than I might have, but I have experience in other things as well. So I think I would go with her recommendation.
Thanks.
Do you want to do,
Reg.
Jeff's, recommendations? Didn't Jeff send you a, email comment there?
He did. His email comment, regarding the account process was that it was a small comment in that we should, include an hourly rate as opposed to, billing monthly instead of, but it wasn't a lot of extensive commentary.
Helpful. Thank
Yeah.
you. Great for sharing that.
So, I thought you also said this, but I'm not, may have had bad memory. I thought, by the way, that Mr. Tink did a very good job of coming up with a great draft, and just wanted to say that. That there are some things that I noticed, that we might want to consider, adding here. But again, in the lateness of the hour, it's just, again, fine tuning and maybe some things that might have gotten overlooked in respect to, the NHA Development Corporation. It's a new entity. He had a placeholder in there, for example. It wasn't that he forgot it, but there's just information that needs to be added about this brand new nonprofit organization that's what, we have. And the scope of services that we're looking for that's more specific, that we probably want to get into this draft before we issue it, okay?
Okay.
So
Great.
just by way of example, but not the basic framework is there, and that's, it more than half the battle, if not more.
Okay.
Secondly, that, I wanted to just remind, I don't even know if it's reminding the board or letting the board know, because I can't remember, we've been talking about this since last spring. But, what we did discover is that, for, this kind of an RFP, for this type of service, that there are 30B compliant ways of doing it that doesn't invoke, that is legal and so forth, that doesn't require all the baggage that you have to do if you're, putting out $1 million contract for building, or 10 million. $40 million contract for building Linden Terrace, so just. And I wanted to, since we have a consultant on board, to pass that along to Cheryl and the consultant and give him chapter and verse on that. Because to then move to both Amanda's and Janice's point about putting, taking 6 weeks instead of 4 weeks and being more thorough, given the importance of this thing. That is, of course, an excellent point. But you don't necessarily have to do it with these more streamlined procedures that we can use. And the reason why that's very important is, in case anybody hasn't noticed it, it's kind of like pretty close to the end of the year, and we kind of want somebody on board for 2026 for obvious reasons. So, again, I rather than, again, lateness of the hour, and I think I need to bring this to Cheryl's attention and Ian's attention. What I would propose is that we do adopt the recommendation of Cheryl and our consultant, which is have the board approve, going forward with this, with all deliberate speed. And I would put that in the motion because the end of the year is going to be on top of us before we even blink at this point. But also with the intention of fully complying with the spirit and the intent of Chapter 30B, which is obviously, incredibly important to protect not only the interests of the housing authority in getting the best possible, proposals, but also making sure that we're fair and we treat all potential respondents in a fair and transparent and way that is fully communicatively, and it doesn't bring favor to anybody else here. So there are ways of doing that, and we should validate that. And with our consultant, I can't meet really tomorrow to offload, kind of debrief on all this. We got the actual RFP pretty late. It didn't, it was like, what, Tuesday, I think, that we had the RFP into the board members. But I'm happy with it, I just haven't had time to type it up or, even chicken scratch my own notes and handwriting or anything like that. So, but again, it's only if the board is comfortable, establishing this subcommittee to take it forward, as rapidly as prudently possible. It can only have 2 board members on it. Otherwise, we have to have public meetings and notices and everything else and everything. But I'm happy to be on this subcommittee, and Jim is happy, and we're all happy with that.
Yeah.
Working with Cheryl and our consultant, I think I would support going forward with that approach that Cheryl recommended.
So could I have a motion to that regard?
I make motion that regard with the dependent on our super duper new minute taker to get that translated into a coherent motion, if we don't mind Michael here.
Thanks, Michael. Welcome. Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Let me call the roll.
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Thank you.
And we'll bring a regular report from the subcommittee to the board, every board meeting. And if we have to have a special board meeting in between, given the urgency of getting this thing done, we'll do that.
Thank you. All right, moving on, let me ask for a consolidated executive director's report.
Right, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yes, the only new item, or there are 2 new items in the report for your review, and it will be brought back at the next board meeting for your consideration and vote. But this is the draft common area policy, as well as the draft private use of community room policy. Michael has done a lot of work on both policies, and they're for your review. Please, if you have any questions, you can email me individually before our next board meeting, the Friday before our next board meeting, to include comments in the policy.
Thank you. Great. Anything else?
That's it.
I did remember one more thing, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
The
please.
previous agenda item, the RP, that I think we all forgot to mention here. But I, of course, referred to Cheryl, which is also, in preparing the agenda, which I was involved with, but, you know, Jim took over with me when I was last minute not available. I think we talked about the idea also of engaging Mr. Tink to continue to assist with the process. Now, you sort of tangentially reported on that, but I just wanted to call it out in the board to help us run it, keep the trains running on time, you know, make sure we don't do any foot faulting on 30B, and you know, summarize proposals, and, you know, help us with the logistics of scheduling interviews and all that sort of stuff.
That's good.
And I think that's just sort of a board information item, not something we need as additional approval or anything, but I think just letting everybody know if I got that right, Cheryl.
You do have that right, and I do want to note that this will result in a special board meeting, of which I will do a straw poll on a bit of board availability, because, you know, we are really up against the wall in
Yeah.
getting this out.
Okay.
Right. Timelines.
Sounds
Yes, thank you. And thanks again, Mr. Tink. I don't know if I gave you the appreciation there. Thank you. All right. Turning it over to Preservation Redevelopment Initiative updates.
Fortunately, I think we've covered everything. I'm just looking at what we might not have covered. Other than any questions about the monthly status report, we've covered everything in terms of an update already.
Good, thank you. All right, we've got 3 approvals as we get towards near the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
Brief descriptions.
These are both capital projects for 689 689 program, 1415 Great Plain Avenue. One is to upgrade the basement kitchen upgrade, and the other is roof replacement upgrade at 1415 Great Plain Avenue. This project has been bidded. The architect engineer has reviewed the contractor and is recommending that the board approve the contractors for the projects.
Thanks. To have a motion for first basement kitchen upgrade.
Second,
Make the motion, and Janice seconds.
Thank you. Let me do a roll call. Mr. Chair.
I'll vote aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Okay, can I get a motion for the second item, roof replacement?
Second.
I will.
I'm sorry, I motion.
Yeah, I second that, sorry.
Great.
Falling asleep here.
And then roll call.
Red Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Great. And the final item, we've had a chance to review.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, so this is, I left off the full title, I apologize, but it is on the revised agenda. It is an interim, and family self-sufficiency interim disbursement request policy. And also a reimbursement requests as well for withdrawal of funds for the family self-sufficient participant. We currently do not have a mechanism in place if an emergency came up and they could withdraw their funds that they've been escrowing.
Okay.
And our participants have really high balances and are escrowing a lot. And we do allow for early withdrawals for car repairs, other kinds of emergencies. And so this had come up where a resident who needs her car to get back and forth to work, needed to make a withdrawal.
Yeah.
We don't have a policy on that, so we created a policy, we've created a form, and we're going to update our FSS plan to include this work to allow for, and now in this case, to reimburse the participant who's borrowed money to get the car fixed, so we're gonna reimburse her and pay back people.
Great.
So that's what this policy is about. It's in addition to, and I'm really excited about it because we, up until now have just been, you know, looking at the accounts grow. Now we're looking at this from a point of view where they can actually use the money that they've been accruing. So
Thank you.
I'm really excited about that.
I'll go ahead and move the approval of the FSS interim disbursement of escrow account and reimbursement of participant policy. Can I get a second?
Is it open for discussion?
I will be in a sec. Sorry. Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
Great. Now open for discussion. Thanks.
Okay, Cheryl. And my colleagues. I totally am on board with this. But I want to ask where the money will come from. Will it come from money accrued, or taken out of their own money?
So this is really money that HUD gives the residents. So HUD gives us money every month based on our schedule of people participating.
I
When a
know the
resident-
program. I approved the program when we first got it. What I want to know is where the money's coming from to repair the car. Or is it just for a car? Is it for back rent? What's the deal?
So Commissioner Bennett, this is for a car repair. Residents must be in good standing. If they're behind in their rent, they're not eligible to escrow. And in this case, this is not their money. The money comes from HUD as part of their participation in the program. So the rent increases. I know you know this. The rent increases and that delta is put into their account every month by HUD. So we can now create a mechanism for emergencies. And that money is coming from HUD, not the tenant escrow account. Do you understand that? Okay, did I explain that? You threw me off a little bit. This is one of my
I
favorite
know,
things.
because it was a long time ago when we got that program together.
Yeah, so it's really not their money. They can't just take the money and
Right.
walk away until they complete the program. The money is deposited, the FSS program is funded by HUD. When a tenant, as you know, rent increases, that amount is then escrowed. So they continue to pay the increased rent, but that difference goes into an account from HUD.
Right, right.
So we have now need to create a mechanism for an emergency situation. They're looking at these big balances, but things happen. Certain things come up and we're trying
So
to.
it's an undue burden on a resident when they're in this program to be able to retain all that they've put into it and retain their status.
I don't understand. It's not a burden for the resident.
If they need their car repaired, it's a burden.
So we need to make a recommendation for withdrawal, for an interim withdrawal, and that's what this is.
Yeah, seems like it's
Yeah.
in support of what you're talking about, right?
May I make a
Please.
comment in the interest of the latedness of the hour that accommodates, I think, what Janice is bringing up? Because I found out, first of all, I didn't have a chance to review this very closely. And I too had some questions, but I'm very, what's most important to me is if there's an actual tenant who has an emergency
Right.
that has had to borrow money to, fix something like a car, which if you don't have your car working in Needham, you're like, that's a big emergency. I would like to suggest that we trust the executive director's judgment on this, even though I have questions too along different lines, but similar. I'm just understanding that I've forgotten about. You know, I had never thought about this issue of we're socking away all your money and all. I thought it, oh, great, they'll have money for a down payment like 5 years from now.
That's correct.
But what happens in an emergency? I don't ever remember thinking about that at all.
That's right.
And that's such a legitimate thing. And
Yes.
so I would like to suggest, I would vote to approve this tonight, you know, subject to more understanding to
Sure.
be had when we have more time to think about it for the next meeting. If there's some reason to amend a policy, you know, we can always do that, and we don't, you know, it doesn't, but I'm not, I think, you know, we know one of the things our executive director loves is good, well-written policies here, and I want to trust her that she's doing the right thing, because I don't want to be on the critical path of my questions preventing one of our residents from dealing with this emergency. I'd rather have that first, and then if we have to do something afterwards, you know, then, you know, so we fully understand what we're doing.
Certainly. And I'm not sure if you all have a copy of the policy.
I don't.
Okay, so I'll make sure you get a copy of the
Yeah,
policy as well as the FSS
Right,
admin
right,
plans.
but I would certainly make a motion, we have a motion in a
Yes,
second.
okay.
I'd still support the motion. And this, you know, to approve it tonight, subject to a more thorough understanding and review of the board, not because I have any doubts that it's a good idea to do and that Cheryl's done it right, but, you know, we do need to understand it.
Good. Any more discussion?
And I want to go have some dinner.
Yes, with that, we do the roll call.
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Okay, then I'm gonna move that we adjourn the regular NHA and HRH LLC meeting.
Second.
Second. I call the roll.
Third,
No,
Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Amanda Berman votes aye.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
You know, good job, Jim. Let's have a round of applause for Jim here.
Great job, Jim. Great job.
We have
Thanks, everyone.
keep him encouraged here.
Here, but I have to see Cheryl first.
Yes, that's.